不认为今天我会葬身于此，并且我从来都没有如此神清气爽过。我仿佛看到了重生，因为从今以后，我海波东将不受束缚。
Some say that Hai Bodong is clearly the warmest among all donghua, yet he cultivates the coldest type of doqi. Others say that Hai Bodong clearly has the mind of a merchant, yet in the early days he only made loss-making deals. But what I want to say is, at the moment when Hai Bodong stepped into the peak of the Dozong realm, both we and Elder Jia knew that Hai Bodong was the true angel investor. Hai Bodong was once a member of the Shadow Guard organization, which was secretly nurtured by the Middle Clan. Within that organization, he went through countless deadly trials. Later, his junior sister, who was also a Shadow Guard, died right before his eyes. This turned him into a cold and emotionless man who followed nothing but the mercenaries' code. However, it was also because of this that he survived numerous perilous missions and eventually broke through to the Do Huang realm. He became the elder leader of the Shadow Guard, serving as the protector of the Middle Clan. With his defensive Do technique 10,000 Ice Mirrors, and his offensive Dao technique Mysterious Ice Dragon Soar, the Hai Bodong roamed freely across the Jiama Empire, becoming one of the 10 great powerhouses of the empire. From then on, the name Ice Emperor resounded throughout the Jiama Empire. He once fought the strongest expert of the empire, Yunlan, in a grand battle atop the Cloud Mist Mountain. Later, during the joint powerhouse assembly between the Jiama Empire and the Chu Yun Empire, Hai Bodong fought alone against 2 Do Huangs, astonishing everyone present. After the tournament, he traveled alone into the Tagore Desert. During one mission, he met Dai, but that encounter drew the pursuit of Queen Medusa. In order to protect Dai, he engaged in a fierce battle with Medusa. In the end, to save her, he took Medusa's full attack head-on and was struck by her snake seal curse. His strength fell from Do Huang to Do Ling, and his body rapidly aged. Unfortunately, despite all his efforts, he still failed to save Dai. From then on, he stayed in the Tagore Desert selling maps. By chance, he obtained a fragment of the Purifying Demonic Lotus Flames map. Many years later, a fateful encounter in a desert map shop tied the destinies of Xiao Yan and Hai Bodong together. At that time, Xiao Yan entered Hai Bodong's shop to purchase a desert map in search of a heavenly flame. However, upon seeing a fragment of the Purifying Demonic Lotus Flame map, he wished to buy it. Hai Bodong, however, had no intention of selling it. After several disputes, the battle over the heavenly flame fragment ended with Yao Lao's secret assistance, resulting in Xiao Yan successfully subduing Hai Bodong. When Hai Bodong learned that the young man before him, who possessed only the strength of a Do Shi, was in fact an alchemist, a spark of hope ignited in his eyes. He used the fragment of the Purifying Demonic Lotus Flame map and the information about the Green Lotus Core Flame as bargaining chips, earnestly begging Xiao Yan to refine a barrier-breaking pill to lift his seal. Although he ultimately obtained the barrier-breaking pill and successfully dispelled his own seal, regaining the strength of a Do Huang, he only managed to return to the level of a 2-star Do Huang, far from his former peak. What he did not know was that within that barrier-breaking pill, a trace of the bone-chilling flame had been mixed in. Later, in order to obtain the Spirit Recovery Purple Pill that could fully restore his peak strength, Hai Bodong promised to serve as Xiao Yan's bodyguard for 1 year. Yet unexpectedly, that single year of protection stretched into 3 years. What began as a simple exchange of mutual benefit slowly evolved into a bond of life and death companionship. When they first entered the Jiama Empire faced with Liao's arrogance, Hai Bodong acted decisively. Sensing that Xiao Yan was in danger at the most critical moment, Hai Bodong's figure flashed forward, intercepting Xiao Yan, who was about to condense the Buddha's wrath flame lotus. His firm words, "Leave the rest to me," rang out powerfully. Turning around, he faced Ling Ying, another Do Huang. Even though the opponent's strength surpassed his own, Hai Bodong did not retreat in the slightest, using his back to form a steadfast shield for Xiao Yan. At the pill gathering, when Jia Xingtian mocked Xiao Yan for being timid, Hai Bodong merely felt speechless at Jia Xingtian's short-sightedness. When the 3-year agreement came to an end, the Grand Elder of the Yunlan sect, Yunlan, was furious and sent 3 Dao Kings to hunt down Xiao Yan. Watching as those who once had ties with Xiao Yan either kept silent or avoided involvement, no one dared to oppose the sharp edge of the Yunlan sect's power. Only Hai Bodong, disregarding the potential annihilation of the Middle Clan, resolutely stood before Xiao Yan. Some said he did it for the Spirit Recovery Purple Pill, but everyone knew that, with the Middle Clan's influence and his status as one of the 10 great powerhouses, finding a 6-tier alchemist was not difficult at all. When Hai Bodong learned that Yunshan had broken through to the Dozong realm, Xiao Yan could not conceal his panic, but Hai Bodong thumped his chest and promised, "I am a man who finishes what I start. Even if Yunshan truly tries to stop us today, I will do everything I can to get you off Cloud Mist Mountain alive." The gap between a Dozong and a Do Huang was like the difference between heaven and earth. No one would risk provoking a Dozong and the entire Yunlan sect just for a single pill. Yet in Hai Bodong's heart, Xiao Yan was no longer merely an alchemist or a source of pills. He had already become a true friend worth risking his life for. When he saw Xiao Yan follow Medusa down Cloud Mist Mountain, he was still uneasy and secretly followed after them. Only when he confirmed Xiao Yan's safety did he finally leave. Later, when he saw Xiao Yan flying toward the Yunlan sect, he risked exposing the middle clan's hidden cards by ordering Ya Fei to immediately summon the Shadow Guards as preparation for any emergency. After Xiao Yan killed Yunlan, completely enraging Yunshan, Hai Bodong saw Yunshan's attack about to strike Xiao Yan. Without hesitation, he charged forward and delivered a crucial kick, interrupting Yunshan's assault. Although he was soon defeated due to the immense difference in power, at that moment, Hai Bodong had truly given his all. And when he saw Yunshan launching a sneak attack at Xiao Yan, Hai Bodong roared in fury. Although Xiao Yan with Yao Lao's help managed to escape from Cloud Mist Mountain, he was still relentlessly pursued by the Yunlan sect. While everyone else chose to remain on the sidelines, only Hai Bodong stood firmly by Xiao Yan's side. At the moment when Xiao Yan was about to be killed by the Yunlan sect, it was again Hai Bodong who appeared to block their path. Faced with the sect's threats declaring the middle clan a sworn enemy, he showed no concern. For in his heart, he had unwavering faith in the potential and will of that young man. During the 3 years when Xiao Yan attended the Jianan Academy, Hai Bodong silently upheld his unspoken promise. When the Hall of Souls colluded with the Yunlan sect to repeatedly target the Xiao clan, Hai Bodong rode his ice dragon to their rescue, relocating the Xiao family members to the middle clan and using the clan's entire power to protect Xiao Yan's true family. When he learned that the Yunlan sect was preparing a large-scale assault on the middle clan, he merely smiled calmly at Xiao Ding and said, "Just think of this as an old man's final gamble." As the flames of war ignited, he stood at the very front lines of the clan. Turning to Xiao Ding and the Xiao family, he solemnly promised, "Don't worry, even if I have to risk this old life of mine, I'll make sure all of you remain safe." He understood clearly that Xiao Yan's family was his greatest weakness. Protecting the Xiao clan meant freeing Xiao Yan from all future burdens. In that great battle, Hai Bodong was ultimately overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Trapped within the Yunlan sect's grand formation, at the very moment of his impending execution, a familiar figure tore through the skies. He couldn't even make out the person's face, only instinctively shouted, "Be careful, my friend. Get back." Those few simple words carried boundless sorrow. He knew that in the entire Jiama Empire, no one dared to openly defy the Yunlan sect, and certainly no one would risk their life for a dying man like him. What he didn't know was that the one saving him from the flames of death was none other than the very person he had protected for so many years, Xiao Yan. 3 years before, he had risked everything to shield Xiao Yan behind him. 3 years later, Xiao Yan returned powerful and resolute, to stand before him in protection, fulfilling that silent vow. "You protected me once, now I'll protect you for life." Together, they annihilated the enemies who had invaded. Hai Bodong finally obtained the spirit recovery purple pill he had long desired. When he climbed Cloud Mist Mountain for the 3rd time, he had already regained the strength of a 5-star Do Huang. Seeing Xiao Yan burning with urgency to rescue his master, his eyes filled with worry and determination, Hai Bodong had already prepared himself for the worst, to stake his life if necessary. When Protector Wu's attack was aimed directly at Xiao Yan, Hai Bodong didn't hesitate for even a heartbeat. He turned sideways, stepping in front of Xiao Yan, taking the full force of the strike with his own body. In the campaign to destroy the Yunlan sect, he was the first to voice his support. When the Heavenly Flame Alliance was newly established, he again stood up first, becoming a core pillar of strength and loyalty. Later during the Siege of the Three Sects, when he saw Xiao Yan struggling against Yan Luotian, he immediately wanted to rush in to assist, even though Xiao Yan stopped him with the Buddha's Wrath Flame Lotus. That mutual trust and will to protect each other never faltered for even an instant. When the fires of war engulfed the fortress, and the Flame Alliance faced yet another brutal battle, Hai Bodong, now at the peak of the Dozong realm, stood steadfast on the front lines. As one of the Alliance's main pillars, he faced the enemy tide without fear. His ice-type Du Qi swept across the battlefield, restraining countless foes and buying crucial time for Xiao Yan and the others to arrive. On the battlefield, he remained the same fearless Ice Emperor, fighting fiercely, burning with resolve, using the spirit of an old warrior whose strength only sharpened with age, to continue writing the bond he shared with the Flame Alliance and Xiao Yan. From their first encounter in the Tagore Desert, to standing life and death together against the Yunlan sect, and finally fighting side by side at the fortress, Hai Bodong used his entire life to define what it meant to keep one's word, and what it meant to have a true friend. Perhaps at first he approached Xiao Yan for the sake of pills, but over time, through countless shared struggles, he came to see Xiao Yan as family, a comrade, and a brother. Hai Bodong's greatness never lay merely in his strength as a donghua, but in the fact that on a continent where power reigns supreme, he still chose to bow his head for the weak and walk through fire for those he called friends. A lifetime as old Hai. That was not only Xiao Yan's respect for him, but the deepest admiration and affection of countless people for this loyal, righteous Ice Emperor.